27th, Thursday. Dang, today's it? The next 2 days rushed by in a blur, altogether leaving a collective mess of work suddenly piling up, and no unexpected acquaintances or friends. Depends on how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos at 3 in the morning to reach a deadline set by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good, has a vision, and knows what he wants, but damn, he can get too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
Okay. There's nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's all simply something I have grown used to. Get to know people, build a client base, do good work, and cash in some late hours if you need be. Rinse and repeat. It certainly just takes a while to get some footing on the field, but it's the kind of thing that pays off in the long run as long as you keep it at it. Given enough time, you might end up with big names on your client's list. Names like the Wrights in particular. I never did pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them on a local news channel or paper. Something to say on their name. Party here, an acquisition there. Sometimes it's a new business venture, other times it's the everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high profile couple. And between that and the fuss that comes with, it leaves me no time to ponder over whatever happened to Isabella or why Ash is so adamant to keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
Sure, there was a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal, but just like every gossip blown out of proportion by the media, I think came out of it, eventually simply died down. Much is definitely left to be said for the husband, but I doubt a woman like Mrs. Wright would pick him if he doesn't have any good points at all. Miss Wright, and herself though. She ain't particularly bad the way the press makes her out to be. The tabloids had it all wrong, that's for sure. Someone born with a silver spoon in her mouth? Well, she ain't exactly what I was expecting. Among other things, the newfound friendship is what I at least expected from her, but here we are. Although with a life as public as the Wrights, Wonder is the woman who often gets the crappy end of the stick. Can't help but feel sorry for her. She's a real nice person when given the chance. Heck, she might have been end up friends with Rebecca and Isabella too, if they weren't living worlds apart. Probably. Babe quickly pulls me back before my thoughts travel any further. One practice motion, I carefully place the wet print I'm holding on a drying rack, and amble over my makeshift dark room to get the last photos from the water bath. Inside the comforted broom closet, the phone processor lets out another soft clack before going on in standby mode. At its mouth, a lone photograph sits on the tray, barely visible with the lack of light. It's the last one tonight for the sad Miss Wrights requested. I don't usually make this a habit, giving away stuff, that is. It's bad for the business no matter how well intentioned or generous you are. It's an exception, however. She did treat me well and was a pleasant companion all throughout the shoot. Uh, if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Miss Wright ain't such a bad subject matter to begin with. And maybe this is just me, but for someone who has everything at the palm of her hands, all the money in the world, a loving husband, and a plenty big mansion to call home, she's lonely. She doesn't just appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and most certainly in her smiles, always hidden behind the glamour for the world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like these helps. A little reminder that the world can be kind too. Ordered just on the paper as I bend to pick it up and gently lay it on another tray, holding a decent amount of photo flow. A few seconds under the solution is all it needs before it's ready for drying. No good rushing this last one, even though my body's already screaming for some decent snooze. My hand fumbles for the light switch, moving towards it with familiarity while I fish for a squeegee among the mess of tools in the drawer with the other. The bulb flickers twice before its glow settles and casts a soft light on the tiny space. When I glance back down, squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process, I finally got it at night.
What on earth?
Oh shit. Ed is gone? Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. The area completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried in all the previous prints.
Damn, that was too careless.
Common mistake to make, of course, if one is negligent enough to make up a newly processed photo in the dark like I apparently did. This has happened before, loads of times actually. We still can't help but feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would likely make. With a sigh, I reach out for the switch again, tempted attempting to develop a new one from scratch.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
Memory clicks. One cursory thought in the sea of many in a short yet distinct second from the day before. Glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image in my mind. There was a shadow. Ooh, no. A woman. In her 20s or early 30s, maybe. But with how far gone her flesh alone has become, it's impossible to tell at first glance. The skin itself has already taken a sickly pale color, with in the most parts blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Miss Wright's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary?
Not from me, but from Miss Wright.
Zach, is something the matter?
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something, that's all. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
The memory alone is enough to make me retch. Oops. Comes out. Some of Hannah's shots from the photo shoot the day before came out distorted after Zachary developed them. We would have almost dismissed it as human error if we hadn't remembered a chilling memory from yesterday's shoot. Brush it off then. A trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such things to happen. And, well, blaming this on the usual fatigue and overworked brain and the weather and amateur error on my part is far more convenient. Makes a whole lot of sense than what the small voice inside my head whispers. Same tiny voice that only makes itself known when something's afoul. Same one that lent a curious ear to Isabella's words about the mansion. And with each second I spend staring at this photograph, the memories in my head only grow louder against my ears. Shoot. I feel like it has to be Ash? Kind of lean towards Ash on this one. I don't know. Would Hannah be happy about it? I don't think she would. And Ash is just gonna be very questionable about it. Go with Ash for now. I did say right. Yeah, I did. Ash will give me flack for this. He will. Wait, story updated? I did that on a relationship then. I'm going to hear what he's going to say about this the moment I bring it up. Hell, before he even sees anything, I'll wager. The guy's a skeptic through and through, and it'll make more than my account for him to consider this. When you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs at the back of your neck and leave you wanting to flee or hide, what he thinks is the least of my concerns. I'm no hero. It's a title best reserved for someone else. Still, if this will help him change his mind, it's worth a try. Isabella's gone and done the same thing, didn't she? Outside, the sun has yet to rise. I've still got a few hours before dawn, good enough time to mull over how I'll go about this with him, with there's space to check if I'll get the same result if I redo the process again. Film processor hums back to life on my touch, the light switch goes out a soft click, and darkness embraces the small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
Sometimes I wish Ash would make himself easier to find. 24 messages, 13 phone calls, and 1 visit to his flat later. I still have no idea which rock the next morning he went off to hide under again. The guy has his own place, he refuses to stay in it. Has his own phone, but doesn't answer any of his calls or give any indication he's gotten my messages. Most of the time, he'll just show up on my front door. Sometimes in the middle of the night, complaining how uncomfortable it is to sleep at the back of his surely his car. As if the old couch in my flat is any better. Nothing new from him, though, but a bit frustrating, really. There's the police precinct, of course. Then again, he's not there most of the time either. If that's also true for today, he's likely out on another stakeout. There's nothing much to do for me but to wait if that's the case.
Let's just hope I'm lucky enough today.
While Luxembourg is a relatively peaceful city boasting a low crime rate, its precinct stays abuzz with activity. Just open the glass front doors, members coming from people waiting in the lobby welcome me. Officers can occasionally be seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod. Some, though, look a little worse for wear, like their receptionist who looked at me with much disdain the moment I arrived. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with them today. If I can even step in, Ash's voice, though low, comes from the hallway edges the lobby.
Not even for just 1 minute?
What are you talking about, Ash?
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
What case?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, Never mind, you won't understand.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with.
Oh, shoot.
They've got the money. Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved?
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
Uh-oh.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Benjamin on the front desk looks like he's about to maul someone after the fourth one yesterday. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see ya. Gonna go grab some lunch.
He notices me first as soon as he enters the lobby and pauses. Confusion briefly crosses his face until I fish out the phone from my pocket and wave it up. Frowning, he pulls his own mobile out, wordlessly fiddling with it for a few seconds before sighing heavily. There ain't any noise on him when he glances up, though, only mild exasperation and what might be a hint of amusement.
Stop taking pointers from Isabella. This is gonna get old soon.
At least use your phone properly.
It's an alarm clock, a good note-taking device, a halfway decent camera, and maybe a music player too. If I'm being nice. What else do I need it for?
I don't know, keeping in contact maybe?
When he merely shrugs, I know I've struck a chord. He's far from holding a piece of technology in contempt, of course. Ash has always been nothing but practical from the start, and technology is useful. Only when he gets too focused on one thing, like a case he's handling, he tends to forget there are other things around him. A reminder and a nudge in the right direction can get him a long way.
I've got an email on that social media site the girls roped us into joining.
That doesn't make any sense. Also, you've got an account before any of us had one.
For policing purposes? Anyway, why are you here? I thought you have something scheduled today. Or was that yesterday?
Sure, that was yesterday.
That was yesterday. Look, about that, there's something I want you to see.
He slaps me with the top of my shoulder, walks past me straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards their very correct receptionist when I raise my eyebrow in question.
Over lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after sending the poor guy behind the table an apologetic smile. As expected, he takes a seat in the farthest corner of the cafe, cut away from the window, but he allows a view of who comes and goes. Secluded enough not to be disturbed with a lunch hour rush or to be overheard by a curious bystander. If I didn't know this was lunch we invited me to, I would automatically assume I got dragged to another stakeout. With the years of knowing him, though, this has simply become one of the many habits he has I've gotten used to. Food arrives minutes later. A slice of their vegetarian quiche for me. Ashton has opted for a cup of coffee plus a gracious serving of the hell.
You having cake for lunch?
So I think this is Zach's in the middle. He shrugs and then proceeds to dig in without even a hint of remorse. Frankly, it's like seeing a child get his Christmas present early.
Don't tell Becca. I'll get an earful. It's just for today.
You should listen to her, though. The kind of work you do, you'll need to eat something other than sweets. I don't want to see you drop dead in front of my apartment again.
I told you, just this once. Have you been hanging out with Becca lately? You're beginning to sound like her.
Nah, just for some recipes. But she has the right to worry, you know? It's like she's taking care of two kids. One bitches on sweets, while the other on cup noodles. At least Bella knows how to cook.
Hey, I can at least boil something.
Hopefully you don't burn anything again.
Wait, that's easy, right? I mean, you just put water in and...
No, don't even think about it. You destroyed your own kitchen once by sticking a pressure cooker on it. I think my sister is a whole lot better than you. And this is coming from someone who has no other choice but to eat her cooking for some time.
To be fair, he generally appears offended at that last remark. Hate will be too strong of a word to describe how Sis and Evan usually interact whenever they're in the same room. Though, whatever appropriate word it is, I can say with most certainty that the feeling is mutual for both. Ash thinks she nags too much, while Sis thinks he's a trouble magnet Ash should stay away from. They're both technically right on their assessments.
How's your sister, by the way? Still bullying white guys?
What should I say? Eesh. What should I say? She's married to one. I feel like. What would Zach say? Oh, excuse me. I feel like this one's the better one, but I kind of want to say this one. Our relationship is good. If I do one mistake, I think she'll still be fine. This brings it way down. She's still fighting with my guys.
You do realize you're the one who started it.
Yeah, one down. Figured.
Yeah, well, your sister tried to poison me with her cooking.
Like you can cook better.
My cooking has never killed people.
Your brand of cooking mostly involves throwing things into a pot and hoping it never explodes.
I am never going to live that one down, am I?
Nope.
Was in the news. Did you know Nana and Gran called me that night just to check if you're still alive?
Oh man. And they were genuinely concerned. They've always been. In somewhat spoken agreement, my grandparents have adopted him to the family. Nice gesture, and I don't think he minds it at all. He'd even ask about them from time to time, check on their well-being. I think part of him misses his own family, the one he'll never get back. And though he won't say it out loud, he appreciates having one thing close to it. Makes him feel less alone. Who won't? And yet.
You should drop by sometime. Nana's request. She wants to see whether that skinny boy has somehow gained some muscle.
I'll see what I can do.
Sometimes he neglects the most important thing.
Ash?
Some other time, Zach. Things are a bit hectic at the moment.
Even for just a day? Psh, come on, Ash.
You saw how things are at the precinct. Even Benjamin's at his wit's end.
He gets quick to avoid my eyes, swiftly turning his attention back to his plate. The food, however, remains uneaten. He's put up a wall again. Can't remember the last time he did that, but watching it happen in front of me is concerning. And ain't an excuse, I know that. This job is never as easy as those television shows often imply. Lots of bureaucracy and red tape involved. If he's lucky, they'll find an easy lead, close the case after several months out of no sleep and pure hard work. But most of the time, it's just one pile of reports at the next, one frustration after another. I just wish he stopped focusing on it too much and see what he's missing out on for once.
You really can't make time for it?
I can't just leave this case for now. Sorry.
His change in tone is subtle, but his aggravation over the matter hangs palpable in the air.
Still no closer?
The opposite, actually. There's been some slip-ups here and there. Careless mistakes, and let's just say I'm waiting for him to make another one. What about you? How are things on your end?
All piled up on top of the other. But I can manage. Still recovering from the expenses for the movie, so the surge in new projects helps. Well, there's this one thing.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them, all of them prints of the same thing. Just writes the distorted head on the photos. It takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The furrow on his brow doesn't ease even as he gathers all of it into one pile and sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh.
Hana, right?
Yeah. How did you...
The locket. She never takes it off.
Oh.
Evan's family heirloom.
I won't even think about asking why or how he knows that. He's investigating them. He'll likely have already dug up every imaginable dirt on them, including family history.
Are you done with your work with them?
Yesterday, yeah. It's just a small feature for a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
He drags in a breath, reaching up his nose and pitches it. Like the action alone will help grant him all the patience in the world to continue this conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth. These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you. You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
I know what you mean, but will you hear me out first?
Ash leans back on the seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with a wave of his hand, and patience is clearly on his face. Any other person telling him this, and he will walk out without being an eye. I suppose the only reason he's giving me the benefit of the doubt is because we know each other.
Ash, I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hana.
He blinks at that, his eyebrows lifting momentarily before settling into a deep frown.
Hana? Since when were you on a first name basis with the right missus?
Why does that even matter?
I thought you said this was just a gig.
His voice stays level, but that accusation is as clear as his day. It hits a nerve in me somehow, more than the tone usually does. Fudge. It's like, it is a gig, but it's like, is there really harm in like getting to know the person you're photographing? And sure, that's not the point here at all. Let's see, right? It's like, this is that chapter so far. This one. There you go. Patience can be a tough thing to summon at times, but we didn't get this far as friends if we let our own tempers be the lord of us.
Bro, it's really just another freelance work.
He eyes me skeptically, the same stare he reserves for people he interrogates. I've been on the receiving end of it before early in our friendship. Years later, he's already got the unimpressed police look out down pat.
And there's nothing going on with me and Miss Hana. She was just being friendly. Insisted I call her by her first name. That's all.
I wasn't implying any of that. You're not that sort of guy.
Like you're playing
I know, but let's just get that out of the way. The just-in-case elephant in the room scenario, aight? She's a married woman, Jesus!
Not with the image she presents in public.
No, but trust me, she ain't any of the things the tabloid writes about her.
Like I read any of those.
I know you don't, but keep it in mind, will you?
Will do. Though I can't promise she'll get off scot-free if she's involved. Man, with how you're acting, it feels like I'm doing a solid for your girlfriend.
Cut that out, will you? And I'm not asking you to. Besides, what's currently going on here is more important.
All right, lay it in.
Recounting everything takes the better half of our lunch, but he manages to listen through the entire thing without a snide comment. A feat in itself, actually. At the end of it, Ash merely nods, takes out his phone, and excuses himself. Off to a far corner of the cafe for some privacy if he can even afford to have such a place as public as this. He returns in a little while and hands me a small card. The first year looks born Andrew Clark, PhD, Professor of Psychology and Ethnography. Department of Psychology, College of Humanities and Science.
I can't stop you if you're willing to believe in this crap. Give this guy a call. You're better off talking to him than me. He's at the public library now if you want to catch him there. He used to be my professor back in the university.
Oh, no, I don't think that's...
Go on, I already gave him a heads up. You know I can't help you out, man.
Yep. University of Luxembourg. Disturbed, Zachary decided to show the photographs to Ashton during lunch at the coffee house. They briefly discussed Zach's sister before the topic appeared on the photos, reason to believe his friend Ashton advised him to talk to Andrew instead. I don't see his face when he leaves, but I know this is... Oh, shit. He gives my arm a tap and walks up, mumbling about checking back how things are at the precinct. I don't see his face when he leaves, but I know this is how his own little way of opening up despite what he doesn't voice out. Of all the places, it never crossed my mind I'll end up wandering into the public library today, considering I rarely ever visited. Somehow, there has always been this kind of disconnect between me and books in general. Sure, some of them held my attention in my youth. During the brief times of the day, I was left to my own with nothing to do. I went through the whole of Grant's collection, as a matter of fact. Read all of them twice or thrice even, but they never did hold it for long. Most of it never even sticked. Especially after I learned it's simply easier to do things myself if I want to learn stuff. This ain't in the plan in the first place, but after Ashton went through the trouble to contact the professor, I can't just ignore it. Nothing but quiet greets me inside, though. Not the typical mom one would associate with the library, but one akin to a hush prior to an impending trouble. Or perhaps I'm just overthinking again. I really like to think I'm just thinking too much about this. This is just a lack of sleep talking. Regardless, apart from a group of students murmuring in a corner somewhere, the place is free of its usual visitors. All of my footsteps echo in a manner unsettling enough to raise the hairs to the back of my neck. Much to my relief, it does not take me long to find him being the only occupant on this side of the room. Professor Andrew Clark. I've never personally met the man, but Ash has spoken highly of him several times. In fact, he is Ash's go-to guy when something's troubling him with the case. My steps are unsure as I approach. At any rate, he greets me with a warm smile, like a grandson he hasn't seen in a long time.
Ashton's friend, I take it. Zachary. You'll have to forgive this old man if I don't get your name right.
Oh, no, you got it. It's Zach. Zachary Steele, Professor Clark.
He gestures at the empty seat across the table where he turns to his books. The next couple of minutes pass in relative silence as he continues to read and take notes from the piles that accumulated on the table. Maybe I should have taken a book first before heading here. Before I can even get far into that idea, the professor clicks the book shut and sits at the top of the stack next to him.
Ashton told me you were hoping to get answers from me. Although I'm not quite sure what I could share, I'll do my best to help.
Of course, there are a lot of things I want to ask. How do we get out of this mess? This is the first among tens, hundreds of concerns in my head. But in the presence of someone I barely know, the thoughts won't easily form. He is nothing but patient, however, and with enough time to mull over a question finding forms.
Do you believe in the paranormal, Professor?
It's supernatural, actually. Don't worry. It's a common mistake to make, but they really are two different things. The other one deals with what we can't explain at the moment, while the other are things we may not have an explanation to. Here.
There's just a couple of papers in front of me. The very same one he was writing on earlier. Study of exploring supernatural cultures in a nutshell.
A friend of mine wrote that a few years ago. He took interest in the city after reading about the stories. I have to agree with him here. Even stories dealing with things you don't see with the naked eye can be rife with culture, and this city thrives on it. Just ask the locals.
Like ghosts, for example.
Among other things. The interpretation has changed over the years, though. Various religions, for example, have their own version. It might not always be a spirit now. It could be a memory, or an imprint, an echo, so to speak. Some are born from curses, even, out of great anger, hatred, or pain. There was this one story. Here it is.
The book is pulled out from the stack and placed open on top of the papers. While he speaks with such passion that it makes me wonder if some part of him believes these to be true. It is interesting, though, even if I'm personally not a fan of such stories. And soon hours pass without my notice.
In the end, it asked for something to be sacrificed in order to destroy whatever anchors the wraith. A sad tale, that one, but the simplest grudge can bring the ugliest, even in the kindest person, with some people none the wiser. Oh, I'm sorry, I just went on.
Nah, it's good. Are you familiar with the Ermengarde mansion, though?
Of course, that goes without saying. Who hasn't heard of the local legend? In fact, you aren't the first one to ask me about that recently. Although, word of the mouth is, someone has already bought it.
Ah, yeah, the right couple. It was a close friend who handled that sale.
So I heard. Well, don't think the house being bought by anyone would stop us from talking about it. What is it about the mansion, then?
I just want to ask what you think of it, sir.
We're going to need more than an afternoon for that, young man. You see, It's the kind that has changed over the years, passed down from one person to the next. Sometimes, it's the Lord William who haunts the place. There are versions where it's the lady of the house. But my favorite, a personal favorite, would have to be the ones that followed after the disappearance of the kind daughter.
Well, what about these then?
There's a moment of hesitation on my part before I pull out Miss Wright's photos and lay them all in front of him. My gosh, though, the professor inspects each print with great interest. Gives me some help, at least.
When were these taken?
Need some advice, Prof?
Just the other day. Do you think those are the same?
Perhaps. Perhaps not. There were certainly instances when the film would pick up what the human eyes weren't able to see. But then, it could also have been human error.
I didn't edit it in any way. You have my word on that, Professor. They all just came out like that.
Then, if it is what you're thinking, I'd strongly advise against doing something reckless and further tangling with them. Accounts about them may be riveting to you, but most of it often ends in an unpleasant manner.
What about those people in the house? If there is something in there, shouldn't they know? I'm sure they're already familiar with the legends, but...
Some people might deserve it, however.
Uh-oh.
Deserve what, sir?
While some of the tenderness of the professor's eyes disappears, his face becoming immovable. As though catching himself, he hastily clears his throat, gathers his books, and rises from his seat. Something might happen between him and the Wrights.
Professor?
I'm sorry. I just remembered something I neglected to do. You'll have to excuse me, Zachary.
All right. Do you need any help with that?
Don't let my looks fool you, son. I can still carry a few hundreds. I've been doing this for years. I'll see you some other time if you have any other questions.
Of course. It was nice knowing you, Professor.
He did not look at me. Zachary met with Professor Andrew Clark at the library. The professor shared a few of his favorite stories about the city, including a friend's research about the serpent legends. Zach showed Hannes the start of photos. The professor only warned him not to be reckless, as some people deserve what's coming for them. Doesn't hear it, however. In a few short strides, he's out of the library, leaving me in every piece of this whole mess amidst now oppressive stillness. Despite the answers gleaned, more questions surfaced. If there is even a single way out of this, I hope we find it soon. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it back home. My heavy treads and the sound of traffic outside echoing in my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever hears me walk like that, but after today I really can't give a damn about everything. The mattress creaks under my weight as I ceremoniously flop down on it, and I find myself looking at the paper under my grip. Ah, the party. An invitation and request to cover their event, the Wright's housewarming party, tomorrow evening. If only it were that easy, but it'll give me a chance to talk to her about that thing in their house. With a sigh, I let my hand fall to the side of the bed along with the invitation. Think about it tomorrow when my head ain't muddled with thoughts of a headless woman and the haunting smells of a ghost. Elated, it occurs to me that the last meal I ate had been the one with Ashton. An empty, gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Today was a complete waste of time and frankly a disappointment. I don't like this. The lack of certainty, this disquiet, the lack of stable ground I stand on, the part where I do not know what will come tomorrow. Ever since that damn letter, everything had been thrown out of the loop. I wish everything stayed the same. The routine would have been easier to make sense of than this. Closing my eyes, I let the noise from the streets bellow lull me to sleep. At the very least, that's the one thing that hasn't changed.